Okay, so what you're going to do is you are going to use your periodic table. Does everybody have one of these? Okay, so you're going to use your periodic table that you've been provided, and you're going to use that to fill out the cards that you have, and then you'll use the cards to put together a partial periodic table in the form of a poster. And the purpose of this is to practice your Lewis dot, your Bohr diagrams, how you figure out the number of your subatomic particles, and then also to see patterns with the families of elements like the alkali metals, the halogens, and so on. So this is how you're going to complete this. So if you look at the numbers at the top, they're all numbered to let you know which one goes in what blank. So number 1 says atomic number. Remember that if you forget this on your periodic table, there's a key that lets you know that the top number is your atomic number. So for boron, if everybody can find that, our atomic number is 5. So we're going to fill that in right here. That's what we're going to fill in. And actually, what I'm going to do just to make it easier for you and for myself is I'm going to copy boron as it is on the periodic table right on this sheet real quickly. So there's a 5 right here. And then you might even want to do this as well. Actually, I highly suggest it, especially if you're having some troubles figuring out your neutron number and stuff like that. So take a minute and copy this box down. Okay, do this right now. Yeah. Scooch right here. All right. So go ahead and copy this box down. Just as it is on the periodic table, and then we're going to label it, and then you can use this the rest of the time if you're having trouble. So remember, and we did this in our notes yesterday, this number right here is our proton number, and we're assuming that all of our atoms are neutral, so it's also our electron number. So positives and negatives are equal. Then remember, these are the electrons per ring. So I'm going to put electron per ring. Okay, so closest to the nucleus, boron atoms have 2 electrons in that first energy ring and then 3 in their second ring. Now remember, this second number is your valence electrons. And those are your electrons that are in the outer ring. Write these down, okay? This is your valence electrons. These are the ones that determine the reactivity of the element, okay? Remember, if you're in families 1, 2, or 3, you're in the metals groups for the most part, you're going to be giving up electrons. Group 1 gives up 1, group 2 gives up 2, group 3 gives up 3. Then families 4, which is carbon, 5, which is nitrogen, 6, which is oxygen, those are mostly going to share electrons with other elements. And so your carbon family has 4 valence electrons. It's going to want to share 4 more to make 8. Your nitrogen has 5, so it's going to want to share 3 more. 5 plus 3 is 8. Oxygen has 6 valence electrons, remember, because it's in this 6th family. So it's going to want to make 2 bonds with other elements, share 2 electrons to make 8. These nonmetals have 7. They're all going to steal 1 more to make 8, okay? So remember, that location is going to tell us a lot about how these elements are going to behave. Now remember, this down here is your mass, and that's your protons plus your neutrons. Now remember, that's a decimal number because the number of neutrons can vary, okay? So that's the average weight of a boron atom. Now this is the part that kids keep forgetting on me, but we learned at the beginning of the year. To figure out the number of neutrons, we're going to take the bottom number, okay, and write this down. If you don't have it memorized, you write it down. Take the bottom number and you subtract the top number, okay? So you're taking this bottom number, which is protons and neutrons, you're subtracting the top, which is just the protons, and that will give you the number of neutrons, okay? So when we're going to figure out our neutron number for boron, we would say 10.8 is 11, so we've got to round it. Okay, remember, if that number or that digit to the right of the decimal point is 5 or higher, you round up. If it's lower than 5, you leave it the same. So 10.8 is 11, and then we're going to subtract our protons, and that's going to give us our neutrons, which are 6 for this particular element. So now we can finish filling out the information in this. So number 2 says we need the name. So if we look at our periodic table, it tells us how to spell that one. It's boron. So that's what we're going to fill in. When you fill out your cards, this is going on a poster, so it needs to be neat. You're also going to shade in the boxes with a colored pencil for a reason, a specific color. And so you have to make sure that everything you fill in is dark so that I can see it when I go to grade it. Okay, number 3, you're going to put the atomic mass, and we're going to put it rounded. So write yourself a note here that we're going to round that. So we're going to look at our periodic table. It's 10.8. Remember that rounds to 11. So an average boron atom weighs 11 atomic mass units. That's your protons plus your neutrons. Now, number 4, that's your protons, neutrons, electrons. So we've got 5 protons. We're always going to assume that our atom is neutral unless I tell you otherwise. So 5 protons, 5 electrons. The positive 5 and the negative 5 cancel. We already figured out the neutron number by subtracting the top from the bottom. So we've got 6 neutrons, and this is the way you're going to do it every time. Now, this is the only reason why you need your book. So I'm going to put book here. This is where you're going to need pages 84, 85. If you're at home, this would be very easy to look up on the internet. Okay, so what you're going to do if you're in class is you're going to look in your book, and there's a key. The key tells you that if the symbol's written in black, it's a solid. If it's written in purple, it's a liquid. If it's written in red, it's a gas at room temperature. I know it's hard for you to see the colors, but they won't be when you look at your book. So if we look at boron, its symbol is written in black. So that means it's going to be a solid at room temperature. So that's what you do to determine that. Then you shade in solid. Now for your Bohr diagram, remember you have to show protons, neutrons, and electrons in each ring. Okay? So the Bohr diagram you're going to put, and you do have to write small, I apologize, 5p for your protons. That's how many protons. 6n. So you do have to be kind of neat here and write small but dark. Then the next thing, and this is where I want you to be particularly careful with darkening in your dots, is you're going to write the number of electrons per ring. That's given to you right here. That's why I had you write that down. 2 in the first ring, 3 in the second ring. So you're going to shade in 2 in the first ring, and remember, I want that dark, and 3 in the second ring, because it's going to ask you to shade these cards in. So when you shade them in, I don't want it to blur out how many dots you have for when I grade it. The last thing you're going to do is remember that your Lewis dot is your valence electrons. Your valence electrons. And also remember, you're not just randomly putting dots. You can only put 2 dots per side of the element symbol. So you can put up to 2 dots on top, 2 dots to the right, 2 dots on bottom, 2 dots to the left. So you put the number of dots according to the number of valence electrons. So your outer ring on your Bohr diagram should match the dots on your Lewis dot. So we have 3 dots. So I'm going to put 1 on 3 different sides of that symbol. It doesn't matter. Nope. You can just put up to 2 dots on the top, 2 dots on the right, 2 dots on the bottom, 2 dots on the left. Okay? All right. So then when you're done filling in all the information, so you have 2 sheets. If I were you, I'd have one partner do one partner do the other, unless you decide to work alone. And then you're going to take your colored pencils and you're going to lightly shade in according to this key. And there's a reason. They're also not going to have you shade in hydrogen. There's a reason for that, so don't shade it in. Okay, then it says cut the cards apart and arrange them according to a atomic number in the pattern shown below on the construction paper. So you're going to have your construction paper, landscape, not portrait, landscape, and you're going to put your element cards on that piece of paper arranged exactly like this. Now, when you do this, then you're going to have your atomic number 1 here, 2 here, exactly like this. But before you glue it down, I'm going to ask that you make sure it's arranged right and push everything down. Because what I'd like you to do is, if you look at step 12, at the top of your columns on your poster, I want you to write the name of each family using the information below. So family 1 is the alkaline metals. Family 2 is the alkaline earth metals. So when you arrange your poster so that it looks like this, you're going to have to write the names of the families. So you want to have room at the top, and there's plenty of room as long as you move everything down, okay? And then it says, after you have the cards arranged in the correct order, glue them down, add a title at the top. Just make your title periodic table. That's good enough. And then it says, after you finished your poster, and we'll run into tomorrow a little bit, so you get as far as you can get today, and then whatever you don't get done, you'll finish tomorrow. You answer the questions on the back of this worksheet. So it's going to ask you about different patterns, and make sure you're seeing what you're supposed to be seeing in terms of how it's colored and how it's arranged. Okay? Is this making sense? Okay. So let me stop here. Hold on.